Hi guys, it's Rob Anderson here from the Athlete Academy. I'm here to show you 8 different exercises you can do at home with no equipment to help improve your mobility, your strength and your power during the coronavirus. So I hope you'll follow along. For each exercise, there's 3 variations for beginner, intermediate and advanced. And if you want to carry on for the next 6 weeks, there's a program you can get access to with 4 different levels so you can find the right one that's appropriate for you. So let's get started. This first exercise is going to focus on the mobility of your calves and hamstrings. From a standing position, keeping your knees as straight as possible, bend down to touch your shins or toes. Slowly walk your feet out until you get to a press-up position, keeping your knees as straight as possible. Slowly walk your feet back in towards your hands, keeping your hands on the floor. Then walk your hands back out again to the press-up position, repeating the movement. This exercise is going to help improve the flexibility of your calves and hamstrings and is the first progression for our mobility exercise. Keeping the knees as straight as possible is going to help improve the calf and hamstring flexibility. For our second progression, we're going to add in the Spider-Man lunge in each repetition. So everything else stays the same. From that standing position, walk your hands out. Once you reach the press-up position, lift one leg and bring it up and outside your hand so you end up in a Spider-Man lunge. Then ultimate, and then get your other side up and outside your hand again. Then as before, walk your feet in towards your hands and repeat by walking the hands back out again. It's important as you do this that you bring the foot right up and outside your hand, trying to keep your heel flat on the floor and lift your chest up to face forward. That's going to help improve the flexibility of your hip as well. Everything else stays the same, so keep your knees as straight as possible as you walk those feet back in towards your hands. This is going to add in an extra focus on hip flexor mobility to help improve that. For the third progression, we're going to build on the Spider-Man lunge by adding in a rotation. So as per the second progression, you're going to walk out to your press-up position and then perform your Spider-Man lunge by bringing the foot up and outside. Now take the elbow to touch the ground and then rotate towards the sky with your eyes staying on your thumb. Change legs and repeat on this side. Elbow to ground and then rotate to look at the sky. By adding in this rotation, that's going to help us improve the rotation of your upper back and your thoracic spine to help improve the mobility around that area. Once you've performed the rotations on either side, walk back to your press-up position and then walk the feet in towards the hands. You're then going to repeat this for the desired number of repetitions. For this exercise, we're going to develop our upper body strength using press-up variations. For the first variation, you may want to use a table, chair or bed so that you're on an incline. Keeping your tummy nice and tight from head to heel, strong as steel, you're going to lower your body until you touch the table or chair and then come back up to the upright position. Ensure your chest comes all the way down and your elbows stay at 45 degrees like an arrow rather than like the letter T. This is our first variation. To increase the difficulty of this, we're going to go down to use a full press up. So get yourself set on the floor, chest to the ground, again hands just underneath your shoulders. You're going to lower down, touching your chest to the ground and then extending back up. Again keeping your tummy and your bottom tight so you stay in one straight line. Elbows stay at 45 degrees like an arrow, not flaring out like the letter T. This is our second variation. To increase the difficulty, we're going to remove the hands and then place them back on for each press up in our third variation. This is going to decrease the momentum and make it harder to start the movement at the beginning of your press up. For power, we're going to use a series of jumps. Our first jump is the vertical jump. Standing upright, hands on hips and feet hip width apart, drop down into a squat and then explode up as high as you can into the air. When you land, focus on landing softly like a ninja rather than hard like an elephant, being sure to cushion the shock through your ankles and knees. Make sure your knees are always tracking over your feet and not collapsing inward into a knocked knee position. For our second variation, we're going to look at doing a standing long jump. So everything else stays the same, only this time you're going to jump forwards as far as you can. You can use a measuring tape to help measure your progress on this exercise. Everything else stays the same, nice and soft, and you're landing like a ninja, not hard like an elephant, knees staying out. For our final progression, we're going to look at doing a lateral jump. This time you're going to jump up and out towards the left or right hand side. Again, everything else stays the same, cushioning through the knees and ankles, landing softly like a ninja and not like an elephant, being sure that your knees are tracking over your feet and not collapsing inwards. These 3 jump progressions are going to help you develop lower body power. For lower body strength, we're going to concentrate on using the squatting movement pattern for the lower body. In an upright position, feet hip width apart, hands holding an object in front of you like a medicine ball, football or dumbbell, descend down into the bottom of the squat, keeping your heels flat on the floor and your knees outside your elbows. Be sure to keep your chest up and try to get down to a parallel position. If you find that your heels are lifting off the floor as your calves are tight, only work through the range of motion where you can keep your heels down. So this may mean you're doing a quarter squat or a little bit higher, but the important thing is to keep those heels flat on the floor. By holding the object close to our chest, that's going to keep our elbows in tight and will give you a good focus point on keeping the knees outside the elbows. So the key points: chest up, knees out, and heels flat on the floor. This is a goblet squat and is our first progression for your lower body strength series. For our second progression, we're going to move on to do a prisoner squat. So we'll lose the object, and this time we're going to place our hands on the back of our head. Everything else stays the same, feet hip width apart, and we're going to descend into the bottom of our squat, keeping our heels down, knees out, and chest up, eyes looking forward. Make sure our back stays straight, and again, you're trying to hit that parallel position to the ground. However, if your heels do lift up, remember to just try and go down as far as you can by keeping them in contact with the ground. Again, you'll notice front on, all those key points stay the same, heels flat, knees out, chest up. I'm sitting down into that bottom of my squat position and then coming back upright. Be sure again that we want to keep those knees out. We don't want them to collapse in towards each other, but knees should stay out, tracking over our toes. This is our second variation, the prisoner squat. From here, our third progression is going to be an overhead squat. Here I am using an elastic band, but this could easily be a bib or t-shirt that you're going to use rolled up. Simply roll up the t-shirt and then place it overhead with your elbows locked out. This is going to increase the demand on your flexibility. Everything else stays the same, heels flat, knees out, chest up, but this time concentrate on keeping the band, bib or t-shirt above the crown of your head. So try not to let your arms fall forward in front of your face or body. Again, you're trying to descend into the bottom position where you're parallel to the ground, keeping your chest up, knees out, and heels flat. Having that extra focus on your overhead position is going to increase the demand for flexibility in your total body and is going to help you improve overall strength as well as range of motion. This is our third and final progression of the squat, and this is called an overhead squat. Here we're going to use plank variations and regressions to focus on trunk stability. So first of all, in all fours, we want to find neutral position. So you're going to arch your spine up to the sky and then drop it down to the ground, trying to find that position in the middle. That's what we're going to focus on holding for all these variations. So once you've done a few reps, you can find that middle position. From there, you're you're going to lift off one arm on the opposite leg. This is going to take away 2 points of contact with the ground, creating a bit of instability. You want to raise up the arm just to eye level and the foot just to the level of your hips. The aim here is to keep your hips level and not let them rock to left or right, as also avoiding overarching your lower back. So you should have head, shoulders and hips in one nice straight line. As you focus on lifting that knee and elbow away from the ground, you're going to create a challenge to maintain hip stability throughout the body. So keeping your abs nice and tight, don't allow those hips to rock backwards and forwards or side to side. Keeping your head looking down at your hands is going to help create that neutral spine position that we want to hold. This is our first progression, the Superman. From here, we're going to move into our second progression, which is looking at a half plank. So on your elbows and knees, you're going to slowly lift your hips off the ground, holding that half plank position. Again, we're looking for a straight line through your head, shoulders and hips, keeping your belly nice and tight, holding that position. To start with, look at holding this position for 10 seconds, focusing on getting a good quality position. Again, we don't want to overarch the lower back or tilt left to right. Our third and final progression is going to look at using a full plank position. So similar to the half plank position, only this time we're going to lift the knees off the ground as well. So starting lying on the ground, elbows in front of you, lift your knees and hips off the ground until you achieve that straight position from the head, shoulders and hips. You're going to hold this position, squeezing your backside and your tummy tight for the desired duration. Again, we want to focus on keeping a nice level position through the back, not overarching or twisting to the left or right. Try and avoid your bum shooting up to the sky, creating an A. We want to create a nice straight line from head, shoulders and hips. We all know hamstring strength is important in young footballers, so here's a couple of hamstring specific exercises. Our first one is called a butt to wall drill. So hands on your thighs, knees slightly soft. You're going to hinge forward at the hips, keeping a big chest and big bum position until your hands slide down your thighs. It's important to keep your elbows nice and loose so your hands slide down towards your knees. At first you might only be able to touch your knees, but as you gradually work on this you might find that you can get down towards your shins. The key thing is to focus on having that straight line through the spine, knees nice and soft and your butt shifting backwards behind you. If you do this in front of a wall, take a step or two away from the wall, and as you slide those hands down your thighs, you should feel that your butt touches the wall behind you. This is going to help improve both the strength and the range of motion of your hamstrings. This is the first progression for our hamstring strength, the butt to wall drill. For our second progression, we're going to look at building on from the butt to wall drill. This time we're going to challenge it by using one leg to do the work of two. So from that same standing position, you're going to lower the hands down, but this time remove one leg and slowly lift it up behind you until it's parallel with your hip. By forcing one leg to do the work of two, this increases the stress on the hamstring, is going to force it to adapt and get stronger. Again, we want to focus on keeping the knees soft and that big bum and big chest position, so we're hinging through the hips and keeping a straight spine. You'll find that your hips may want to turn out as you do this, so focus on pointing your big toe of the back foot towards the ground to help you keep your hips straight. This is a great exercise for developing hamstring strength as well as single leg balance through the ankle, which can also help prevent ankle sprains. Key thing is focusing on that big bum, big chest position so that we keep a nice straight back as we do this. This is our single leg RDL or single leg Romanian deadlift, and that's our second progression. For our third and final progression, we're going to build on this drill, placing the hands behind the head. From here, this increases a bit of weight around the top of the skeleton, which is going to increase the strain on the hamstrings. Two legs on the ground, you're going to bend at the hips, keeping the knees soft until your chest gets parallel to the ground. Again, this extra range of motion and load by the head creates a bit of extra stress for the hamstrings to adapt to, which is going to increase the strength and range of motion. Again, try and think about getting your chest parallel to the ground whilst also shifting your bum backwards. This will help you keep your back straight and will help improve your flexibility and strength of your hamstrings. This is the third progression, the good morning. For lateral trunk stability, we're going to look at a series of plank progressions. So to start with, we're going to lie on our side with our knees bent at 90 degrees, heels towards your backside and elbow on the ground. From here, you're going to raise up your hips off the ground so that your only points of contact are your elbow and that inside knee on the ground. From here, you're going to hold for 10 seconds and then relax. You're then also going to alternate on the other side. So here's a front on view. Again, on your elbow and your knee, you're going to raise those hips up, and we're achieving a straight line through the head, shoulders, and hips and knees, keeping our butt and abs nice and tight. This is going to help us improve our lateral trunk stability, and that's the half side plank, which is our first progression. From there, we're going to move to a full side plank for progression 2. This time, our elbow stays on the ground, but we're going to pop up onto our feet. So hips and knees will lift right off the ground together. Again, looking for that straight line through the head, shoulders, and hips, holding for 10 seconds. Again, here you'll get a side on view, so you can see that there's that nice straight line through the head, shoulders, hips, and ankles, which is what we're aiming for. Again, you want to focus on squeezing your backside and your abdominals so that our trunk is switched on. For our third and final progression, we're going to push this on one level further. Everything else is going to stay the same, but we're going to come up onto our hand rather than our elbow. So get your palm flat on the ground, lift hips and knees off the ground, and hold that top position. Again, squeezing your abs and bottom tight so that you have that straight line through your head, shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles. For each of these, we're going to start with 10-second holds and then build up over consecutive weeks. For our final exercise, we're going to look at using single leg strength. This is important to balance out the left and right sides of the body. Starting in a kneeling position on the ground, 90 degrees at the front and back leg, think about your right foot being on one train track and your left on the other. From there, you're going to push up until you come into a standing position and then lower back down, keeping your feet in place. This is the in-place lunge, which is the first progression of our single leg strength. It's important here to focus on the knee position of the front leg. So from a front view, you'll see here, again, I'm setting up in the 90-degree position front and back, left foot on one track, right on the other. And as you lift, you want to keep those knees in line with your foot. So don't allow that front knee to collapse in across the body. Again, keep your chest up, eyes looking forward, slowly lowering until that back knee touches the ground, and then pushing back up. For this exercise, you want to complete it on both the right and left leg for the sets and reps. For the second progression, we're going to look at using a reverse lunge. From a standing position, again, feet on two different train tracks, step back with one foot, and then drop into the reverse lunge position with the back knee just softly touching the ground. Again, chest and eyes facing forward, keeping that upright position. From here, you'll see that both knees again are at 90 degrees at that bottom position, and again, you're going to want to complete these on both the right and left hand sides. Again, from that front position, you can see two separate train tracks, right and left, and that front knee staying over the foot, not collapsing across the body. That's our second progression, the reverse lunge. For our final progression here, we're going to take things a little differently and look at a lateral lunge. So from a standing position, this time you're going to step out towards the side and then slowly drop into a lateral lunge. Again, you want to keep the heel flat on that foot stepping out and your knee staying over the foot. You'll feel a big stretch through your adductors and groin as you drop into that bottom position. Again, eyes and chest facing forward, heel flat on the ground. You'll see here from the front on position, your hips want to stay facing forward with both feet facing forward as well. This is the lateral lunge, which is our third and final progression of our single leg strength series.